The foreskin is not extra skin. They preach circumcision as a cure for the moral ills of lust and masturbation. Well, Mr. Kellogg was as much of a nutcase as ever was, and it's not because he was the genius behind cornflakes. It's because he was as anti-sex a Victorian as ever was born. He had adopted children because he was so anti-sex that he never had sex with his wife. But he didn't take it up the ass on a daily. Circumcision was introduced in this country for the specific purpose of reducing sexual pleasure.
And the fuck is like some parents maybe think that they're doing it out of love for their child because it's in the Bible.
The process that you endured as an American in this country is very different than what the Abrahamic tradition did at that time and place. You didn't do a favor to that person. You just robbed them of the sex mechanics for the rest of their life.
How long is the restoration? Like, is there too late to get restoration?
It's never too late, okay? I've been working on restoring my foreskin. Circumcision is not without risk, and people are rudely surprised when it goes wrong, right? And you deglove the penis. That can kill you, right? We're like, oops, we took it all.
It's a whole business.
What is so amazing about foreskin?
Oh my God. How many hours does this podcast go for?
Hopefully at least a little bit more.
Okay.
Mine's gone, man.
I'm sorry.
Chopped away when I was a wee child.
Yeah, and that was not nice. I'm telling you, the foreskin is amazing. And the thing is, if you lead with what's amazing about the foreskin, then you're going to start scratching your head and asking questions like, why did they take it away? So the foreskin, right, is not extra skin, right? The foreskin is the skin of the shaft of the penis when it's erect, right? So the flaccid penis is a different shape than the erect penis, right? So when the penis becomes erect, it has to still have skin covering it, but it's changed its length, right? It's changed its girth. And so it still needs to be dressed. It still needs to be covered. So the foreskin is the skin that's there to accommodate the shaft of the penis in an erection. So now if you have an intact penis, is what I like to call it, an intact, undissected penis, then also there'll be play, right, in the skin because you have enough for the erection and then some. So the shaft of the penis is designed to move in and out of itself, right? And the skin, because it's a little loose even in the erect penis, will move back and forth over the glands. And that feels good. And that foreskin is the most erogenous part of the organ. It's the sexiest, most nerve-filled.
I'm so fucking mad.
It's the nerve-filled part of the organ. And what it does is it gets a little slippery down there at the end, right? Because you have that viscous substance that comes out of the glands, right? And it's kind of clear and slippery. And that's to lubricate the movement of the foreskin over the glands, which makes it feel even better, right? Now you take that whole unit and you put it in something else, a hole in the wall, a good friend, someone you love, right? And you're
fucking going glory all over here, really, bro.
You said we could talk about stuff.
That's amazing,
so
though.
Talk a sock puppet, whatever you got.
Lots of crusty socks, bro.
A hand with a velvet glove. I don't
Take
care
it wherever you can.
I don't care what you got, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to facilitate the movement of that skin over the glands, and eventually you're going to reach a point where the electromagnetics of that reaches a point where you ejaculate, right? So if you put that in another place, right, then that place that you put it is protected. Wow. There's no abrasion, right? You have, say you're in a vagina, for instance, right? Now, a vagina has a different design, right? It has kind of a circumferential erectile tissue that expands like a filling donut, right? And then as that donut fills, then that aperture gets tighter, right? And it squeezes on whatever might be inside of it. So the vagina pins, right? It pins the skin, the foreskin, to the shaft of the penis, which is moving in and out of itself, right? The penis is not supposed to be abrading the vagina, right? So if you follow that design, then the vagina is enjoying pressure, right? The whole vulva enjoys pressure. That's the kind of way those nerves are set up. The pressure of one pubic bone pressing against the clitoris and all that, right? You have a pressure system that's pleasurable. And then it's not, the pleasure doesn't come from rubbing your penis off on a vagina for the vagina partner. Right, that's just abrasion and irritation. It's injuring the delicate epithelial walls of the vagina. That's not the design. The design is that you move in and out of your own skin while your partner enjoys the pressure of that movement exchange. Right, they get off on the pressure, you get off on the friction of yourself to yourself. Right, and then the whole party is nice. Now, what happens if you There's more, but wait, folks, there's more, right? So because the glands of the penis are normally covered in that skin, it's protected. It's an aperture, it's an opening in your body, and all the apertures of our body are protected, right? We got eyelids. We don't, we
Snip
get
our
the
eyelids
Sandman. You don't cut the eyelid off, right? It'll dry it out, right? So what happens to the glands when you take away the foreskin?
Dry.
It gets dried out. It gets sclerified. If you look at it under a microscope and cross-section, have 20 extra layers of squamous epithelium dried out there. It's a callus. It's like the butt of your hand instead of the inside of your lip, right? That's the design. It's like the inside of your lip, and it's protected and covered, right? And as the skin, right, because this is skin that goes two ways, right? You pull it back and you see skin, you pull it forward, so there's an inner layer of skin surrounding the glands. And that skin, like all the skin of our body, sloughs off, right? So how does it slough off? It's like apoptosis, these little enzymes that like explode the cell and it sloughs off. So those enzymes in the normal structure slough off, and they have an antibacterial property, because if they could kill your cells, they'll kill bacterial cells too. So that's your immune system, right? That foreskin is your immune system for that part of your body. It's a mechanical protection of the opening, right? It's also creating the right moisture environment, and it's sloughing off skin. That we call it smegma, which is a Greek word for soap, right? And that's not a bad thing. That has enzymes in it that have antibacterial properties. You don't want it to build up too much, right? Because it gets sticky, and the skin can stick to itself, and you get adhesions, right? So you clean yourself, but still, it belongs there, that stuff. And the vulva also has smegma, and we can take a bath, right? We can wash our face, we can wash our intimate parts. So we have that foreskin as the immune system of the penis. It's also the most erogenous aspect of the penis. It's also the protection of the partner in terms of the movement and the friction, and it's also stimulating, right? So this is all good stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is all good stuff. Now, what happens if we take that away? Okay. So if you take that away, and they take it away in a serious amount.
Yeah, they do.
Now, they actually protract it, right, in order to get more. Like more is better somehow in this case. And it is if you're going to sell it, because they do upsell that foreskin.
These motherfuckers.
Right, because they're going to sell it into the biologicals companies who are going to, and they're going to call, you can look it up online, they're going to call it neonatal dermal fibroblasts.
Which is soup for rich people. I fucking knew it.
Some billionaire out there fucking ate my foreskin in his soup.
It's worse than that. It's hand cream for facials is what it is. And it's not that kind of facial. It's the other kind of facial. So
type in facials, Andy.
Okay.
Don't type in facials. So what they do is they take those cells and they multiply them in the laboratory, and then they sell them to companies, and they use them for product. Right, and you pay for it. So you pay for the surgery, which you've been told is useful or purposeful, and then you pay for the disposal of the tissue, and the disposal of the tissue fee means you're paying them to sell the tissue, right? And you signed away for it on that consent form that somebody handed you.
It's a whole fucking business. It's a huge.
It's the most common surgery in America. is harvesting that skin and giving it to somebody else.
Power Project family, shut your fucking mouth. We've been talking about breathing through your nose and nasal breathing during your sleep for the past 5 years. That's why we've partnered with Hostage Tape. It's the best tape on the market, sticks to your face even if you have a beard. So head to hostagetape.com/powerproject and you'll be able to get a year's supply of tape for 55 cents a day. That shit saves you $150. It's a no-brainer. Links in the description and the podcast show notes. Enjoy the show.
And what is the effect in terms of sex function is to take away pleasure, okay? Because that's the most erogenous part of the organ, and you just took it away. And that was why it was done in this country. It was done in this country as part of the Great Awakening, and the Protestant moralizers wandered around this country having tent meetings. You can read about it in Tom Sawyer, and the whole town got religion, right? So you have those tent meetings, and they preach circumcision as a cure for the moral ills of lust and masturbation. Right now, fellas, did you stop masturbating?
No.
So it didn't work. It was false, but it did change the sex dynamic. Okay, so someone like that crazy man Kellogg back in the day. Right? Have you talked about old Mr. Kellogg?
Please talk about Mr. Kellogg.
Well, Mr. Kellogg was as much of a nutcase as ever was, and it's not because he was the genius behind cornflakes. It's because he was as anti-sex a Victorian as ever was born. He never had sex in his life, except he did get an enema from his male servant on a daily. So I don't know what that was all about, but he had adopted children because he was so anti-sex that he never had sex with his wife.
Wow.
But he did take it up the ass on a daily with yogurt and coffee and anything else he could put up there. Probably Gumby and gerbils and God knows what else made it up there. So anyway, he advocated putting like little spiky underwear on small boys and cauterizing the clitoris. Right? What? Cauterize the clitoris, right? This was recommended.
All he had to do was just come out. And it would have been fine.
It would have saved so much trouble, right? But he was part of a general movement. The doctors were on board. Everybody was on board with this. So circumcision was introduced in this country for the specific purpose of reducing sexual pleasure, right? To change the dynamics of sex, take that away from us, right? And then what years go by, and maybe they change their ideas about that a little bit, but once it becomes part of the culture and it's part of the money system and stuff like that, and then you realize you can use the stuff in the biologicals market, then they'll create every conceivable rationalization. Oh, it cures AIDS. It does all kinds of things. It's ridiculous. Every year there'll be 1 or 2 articles come out in the New York Times telling you how glorious and wonderful is circumcision. I read an article from the CBS News that was online on their website. This was some years ago, and it was basically being sad about how people don't do circumcision anymore. It's as if they don't like vaccination or something.
Oh my God.
They literally tried to tie circumcision to vaccination because this is clearly a powerful prophylactic for health for boys. It's not. That's garbage. It's to think about it this way: you take away the skin, now it's tight. Right? You get an erection, you don't have enough skin to accommodate the erectile tissue. You end up with a bent stiffy, right? It doesn't look quite the same anymore because it doesn't. And where does it get the skin from to cover itself? It's got to recruit it from the pubic area. So now you got hair halfway up the shaft of your penis. And now you're putting that in your partner. That's not hygienic, to be filling your partner with your hair. It wasn't designed that way. The penis shaft is not a hairy thing. The pubis area is hairy, but if the skin that you're putting, that's not hygienic, number one. It's also not hygienic to dry out the glands. They get cracked and sore, and you can have bacteria get into it because it's no longer protected by the substance your body produces that's an antibacterial to protect that opening. And you're abrading your partner and putting that partner at risk, right, because of microabrasions inside of their body of other infections. So all of these are not in service of health at all.
And the fuck thing is, like, some parents maybe think that they're doing it out of love for their child because it's in the Bible, right? So a lot of, like, I'm Christian, I was circumcised, and it's in the Bible.
Okay, let's talk about that Bible bit.
Let's go.
Okay, so it's in the Bible, but what part of the Bible? It's in Old Testament. It was the covenant between Abraham and Abraham's God, right? So that all seems fine. They made an agreement, and this is what it looks like, and you're going to be my people, and this is how we're going to know you're my people. He had just about to execute Isaac, his son, but the angel of the Lord stayed his hand, and the goat showed up, and he sacrificed that instead. And let's call circumcision at that point in history an improvement on child sacrifice. How about that? How about they came into the land of Canaan and they saw them doing child sacrifice, and from an anthropological perspective, well, let's not kill the boys. Let's just take a little bit of their skin, right? That'll be better, right? So then you do that. But how much skin did they take? Just a little bit. They didn't. The process that you endured as an American in this country is very different than what the Abrahamic tradition did at that time and place, right? Yeah. They made the mark of circumcision. So there was the exposure of the tip of the glands. They didn't protract the skin forward and cut off half the skin of the shaft of the penis. Right? No, they just took off the end of it, and this little bit of exposure became the sign that you were part of the covenant. Well, all well and good. We can do whatever we want. It's a free will universe, right? Now, what they're doing to us in America today is the stripping of the glands. It's a different process where you protract the skin forward of that infant, you clamp it, you put a cigar snipper on it, and you cut that skin off in the majority. You take that and sell it upline, and you tell everybody you did a favor to that person. You didn't do a favor to that person. You just robbed them of the sex mechanics for the rest of their life. Now, as surely as they invented circumcision, they also invented restoration.
How long is the restoration? Like, is there too late to get restoration?
It's never too late.
Whoa.
It's never too late. Okay. I've been working on restoring my foreskin. I'm not urgent about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm running around all the time. So it depends on the level of cut, what it takes to restore your foreskin, right? Because not everybody's been cut the same way. So you can look at someone at the gym and you're like, oh, is he circumcised or not circumcised? I'm really not so sure, you know? So I didn't know what I was looking at. I was at the Turkish baths in New York City at a stag party, right? And we're all sitting around having a steam room, and the guys on the other side were these Orthodox men, and they're sitting there, and I'm looking across through the steamy haze, staring at their junk, and I'm saying, like, what do they got over there? Because they got more foreskin than any of us, right? And they had been circumcised by a mohel in the pattern of their tradition, and the foreskin.
Did you get in conversation with these guys?
No. I just stared rudely.
It's like, this is going to sound weird, but you can trust me. I cut bodies open for a living.
Everything's cool, and I am staring at your dick.
You just have amazing foreskin. I couldn't help it.
It's if you're like having a chat over there, like, is he staring at my dick? I'm like, yes, I am. Not shy here. So what I noticed was that the skin was over the corona of the glands, right? And just the tip of the glands was exposed. And I look at us, and we got the whole corona. So what are the stages that could be done? So that would be let's call that stage 1 cut, right? Where just the tip of the glands is exposed, but the skin gathers up over the corona of the glands and covers most of it. Stage 1 cut. Stage 2 would be where the skin bunches up to the glands, but doesn't quite get over the corona, doesn't quite cover any of the glands. That would be stage 2. Let's say stage 3 is where you have some wrinkling, right, in the skin of the shaft of the penis when it's flaccid, but it doesn't actually bunch up to the corona at all. And then say stage 4 cut would be where in flaccid, normal temperature hang length, there's no bunching at all. There's no wrinkling of the skin at all, right? And then say stage 5 is when you've actually had other parts of your penis injured through the procedure. So where that cigar snipper slipped and cut off half of the glands, and that happens every day in America, folks. This is not impossible, right? This
must cause some sort of trauma.
It can cause death.
Oh.
Yeah, people can die. They'll do sex changes based on the accidents that happen in circumcision in our culture. I'm not saying it's happening, 100,000 times a day. Yeah. I'm saying this is part of the risk. Circumcision is not without risk. And people are rudely surprised when it goes wrong, right? And you deglove the penis. That can kill you. Right? We're like, oops, we took it all. Right? So that can, degloving injuries you die from that. You get sepsis and you die. Right? So you can think about what I just said in terms of the scale and say, well, how much was took from me? Right? What have I got left? And then where can I start? But so if you have skin already over the corona of the glands, then there are devices, stretching devices. Even if you have it wrinkled up to the glands, you can pull the skin over that stretching device and wear that device, and it'll hands-free stretch you while you go about your business, Right now, if you have a stage 4 cut, which is what I started with, where there's
think
no
I might be
wrinkling,
stage
no
4 too.
nothing. If you have an erection that's tight and you kind of like, kind of bending this way, right? It's like strained, right? And what is that? That's an abrasion stick you got there, right? And you should take responsibility for it before
Sorry,
you
Sam.
before you rub some friend down to give them a rug burn inside their body, right? So what you can do when you can't use any device, there's no extra skin to put on the device, right? That you could put, and again, I'm saying this is not extra skin. This is your skin, right? So you take a circumferential hold around the shaft of the penis. You pull in opposite directions gently. The idea is not pain, right? You just create tension because skin grows under tension. That's one of the miracles of the human body. You put skin under tension and it grows. That's how your body got bigger. Your skin grew with it. How do you do it? You put it under tension. So the tensions that run through the forces of your fascia are going to impact your skin, stretch it, and you're going to end up with more skin. You can do that to the shaft to your penis, right? So you stretch in opposite direction and change the hold. 20 seconds, change the hold. Change 20 seconds, change the hold. Change the hold. Change the hold. Depending upon how big you are, change the hold. Change the hold, right? And then within months, it'll feel different. Sex will feel different. You'll feel different. And you can feel some pride in that you're restoring your birthright. Because that's your birthright. And you're protecting other people when you do that.
I've never been happier to have what I call an uncut gem.
Good for you, yeah.
And when my son was born, we got a lot of pushback. Like, oh, you're not gonna, like, what do you mean? And then even like people like in the family and friends of the family, like, oh, but it's gonna look weird.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
Dick
they'll
looking
say-
like a dick
they'll
is
say-
weird.
he's not,
yeah,
he's
they'll
not gonna
say-
marry you.
Yeah. Oh, it smells. They'll say.
Yeah, or it gets
well, so
dirty,
does your
dir-
asshole if you don't wipe it, right? So you have to.
And then the infection and this and that, and I'm like, look, I figured it out.
Yeah,
You know, and so
that's
we're
right.
good.
No,
Yeah.
my sons are intact, and they're grateful because and people are like, oh, well, he should look like his father. You know, so, well, his father is ugly. You know, you gotta punch that baby in the face until it looks like Pops. You know, you shouldn't do that. And they'll say it's hygienic, and I'm like, it's not hygienic. It's the opposite of hygienic. And they'll say, well, it doesn't pull back. He has phimosis. Well, that's a confusion on the part even of pediatricians in this country. They see an infant, and the skin doesn't pull back, and it's adherent. It's not supposed to pull back. The organ is immature, right? So the foreskin is actually adherent to the glands in the infant. And when you're born, your liver's not the same as it ought to be, your brain's not the same as it's going to be, and your penis isn't the same as it's going to be. So it's normal and appropriate for the skin to be adherent because the urine flushes out the area underneath there. The urine is the number one humectant on the planet. It's the best moisturizer you could possibly have. Right?
Pause. Wait.
That shit's getting very popular.
So
Urine therapy.
Well, this is a little different.
Okay,
Urine
thank
is the
goodness.
most commonly used medical substance in the United States today. And you don't even know it because they fraction it and they say creatinine and urea, in your hand cream. These are fractions of urine. We are using urine in our culture all the time. It's a common medical substance. It's the most common medical substance on the planet, including in the United States. But they just call it different things, so you don't got to think about it. And the reason why they put that in hand cream is because those uric acid crystals absorb water, right? They're moisturizers, right? So the best moisturizer you can have is the urine going over that glands to keep it moist. It's supposed to be moist, not dried out, right? So you don't want to take that away, and you don't want to prematurely retract the foreskin of an infant because you'll tear it and it hurts, and that's the first thing they do in a circumcision is they take a probe and they scrape the foreskin off of the glands. That's the first injury, right? So if you just leave it alone, right, the penis will grow, and the child will have erections all night long. You have an erection, right? And that's going to break down those adhesions. And by the time you're 12 or so, your foreskin will fully retract. And if it doesn't, you don't force it, right? So this, and people will say, oh, well, I had real phimosis and my penis was being strangulated. Well, there's more than one ways to skin a cat, right? So you can actually stretch that skin. right? You can use light therapy, you can stretch it, you can do all kinds of things. And there are real and occasional rare medical circumstances where circumcision would be appropriate, but to what degree, even in that instance? You can do a minimalist job. You can just cut that band. You don't have to do a full stripping of the glands.
Now, I know you guys enjoyed this foreskin clip because it sucks. It sucks to be clipped. But the full podcast with Gil Hedley was amazing. I think all of us think it was maybe one of our best podcasts ever. We learned a lot. So click right here to view the full episode. You won't regret it. Good stuff.